Good morning. It's the start of a new week. Let it be known. It is April the 19th, 2021. Today, we're going to talk to Shelly Bell, founder and CEO of Black Girl Ventures. She's leading the way to ensure that Black and brown women-owned businesses receive the proper access and resources to rebuild as the pandemic slowly eases in the United States. Shelly is responsible for funding over 130 minority-owned businesses. So we'll talk to her in a little bit. But first, let's bring on our president and CEO, Dr. Ben Chavis. Good morning, Dr. Chavis.
Good morning, Stacy. On behalf of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, this is another day that the Lord have made, and we have to celebrate. Even though we have difficulties with COVID, we're facing police brutality, we're facing systematic racism, we're facing health disparities, we're facing a lot of things. But you know what? God is still blessing our people, still blessing the Black press of America. So we're glad to be here. Let's hit the headlines.
And the headlines, it is: the jury could start deliberating as early as this afternoon when closing arguments are expected to conclude in the trial of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer charged with killing George Floyd. Defense attorneys rested their case on Friday after Chauvin told Hennepin County Judge Peter A. Cahill that he would not testify. He says, "I will invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege today." The former officer, who kneeled for more than 9 minutes on the neck of George Floyd, reiterated his decision not to testify when Judge Cahill asked whether it was his decision not to take the stand. He said, "It is, Your Honor." So, Dr. Chavis, a big day in the Minneapolis area and throughout the world, really.
I was going to say that whole eyes of the world are looking at Minnesota, are looking at Minneapolis, are looking at their courtroom. So, George Floyd is not on trial. He was murdered. This police officer, former police officer, is on trial. The system of justice in America is on trial. White supremacy is on trial. Racism is on trial. So we'll see how this comes out. But yes, everybody's gripped. The jury will get the case, start their deliberation, 12 of them later this evening, and we will see. Our prayers that for the Black press, that justice will be done.
Yeah, and so we'll be obviously bringing that to you as it happens. Our two newspapers there, the Minneapolis Spokesman, Recorder, and Insight News, is sure to be on the case as well. Dr. Chavis, also in the news this morning, another sad day in the world of hip-hop, as rap star Black Rob, best known for his song Whoa, and his affiliation with P. Diddy's Bad Boy Records, died Saturday, according to several reports. He was 51 years old, Dr. Chavis.
I know our artists are dying too young, too soon, and we have to look after the health. Even when you become famous, or even if you're not famous, all of our listeners, listen, the pandemic is easing somewhat, but y'all have to still keep wearing your mask, keep wearing gloves, keep social distancing. And if you have an opportunity, make sure you talk to your physician about your vaccinations. This is a critical time, and we send our condolences to the family of Black Rob, as well as to the family of Bad Boy Records and to Diddy and all those involved. We lost DMX last week. Now we lost Black Rob. Too many of our artists are dying too soon and too early.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dr. Chavis, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention has remained vigilant in the fight against the coronavirus, tracking the different variants of the disease and studying the complications some have found with the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. At the forefront is CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky, whose schedule includes regular White House updates and testimony before congressional panels. Dr. Walensky also led the federal agency this month in officially declaring racism as a public health threat. And on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Dr. Walensky will join Let It Be Known, our live breaking news program, and we will be able to talk to Dr. Walensky about all the pertinent things that are happening as it pertains to the coronavirus, as it pertains to racism being a public health threat. So we're looking forward to that, Dr. Chavis.
Absolutely. I want all of our viewers to tell your family members, your colleagues, your coworkers, people in the community. Everybody should tune in at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know it's early on the West Coast, early in other time zones, But she's available. She's going to come live to the Black Press. Dr. Walensky, the director of the Center for Disease Control.
Yeah, and Dr. Chavis, it is not often that Dr. Walensky does give a one-on-one interview, and she's agreed to do that with the Black Press. Her schedule is so tight with all the things happening. She has to give updates at the White House. She has to testify before congressional committees, but she is taking the time for the Black Press, and so we're looking forward to that. We also remind you to sign up for the National Newspaper Publishers Association's annual summer convention, which will be held virtually this year again from June 23rd to June 26th, with lots of special presentations and the usual great entertainment. Register for free at www.virtualnmpa2021.com. I know everyone, Dr. Chavis, is looking forward to that.
Right. I was one of the first to register. That's right. I registered for our own convention. I want all of our staff, all of our publishers, all of the publishers' staff, all the editors, all the journalists, all the NABJ people that are watching. You know, we're going to join your convention, but you should also register for our convention. We're building a database. You want to be on our email blast, but you got to register. The registration is free. We waive the fee because we want everybody to participate. We thank all of our sponsors, thank all of our partners. It's going to be great. The great Count Basie Orchestra is going to be performing. We're going to have a special program by the Children's Defense Fund. It's going to be great. It's going to be informative. It's going to be uplifting, and it will be engaging.
Absolutely. I want to say good morning to Annette Phillips, Brenda Stewart, James Wright of the Washington Informer, Michelle Madison, and of course, our own Bobby Henry, David Youngblood, Lynn Spivey, and all those who are watching, our executive administrator, Claudette Perry, and of course, our chair, Karen Carter Richards. Great morning to you all. Thanks for joining us. And now we will talk to Shelly Bell, founder and CEO of the Black Girl Ventures. They are doing a lot of great work. So good morning to Shelly Bell. Let's talk about it.
Good morning. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Good morning, Sister Bell, and thank you. You know, African-American women, other people of color women having their own businesses is such vital that as the economy rebounds, we want to make sure that all of our brothers and sisters, but particularly our Black women, have an opportunity not only to go into business, but have their business be successful. So we appreciate your great work with Black Girls Ventures.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think not having access to the same systems that everybody else has access to build their businesses is a civil rights issue. And so I think like the work that we are trying to do, we focus on 3 pillars: community, capital, and capacity, because we feel like those 3 things would be a great foundation for sustainability and to grow and to start businesses.
Yeah, and we're so glad that you have taken the initiative to do such an important work. We know that recently, Shelly, Nike, because of your work, Nike, along with Kroger, donated a combined $1 million to support the mission of Black Girls Ventures to provide more Black and Brown entrepreneurs with access to community capital. Can you talk a little bit about that, how that came about? We know it took a lot of work.
Yeah, so just to give a little bit of context to what we do, there's a lot of entrepreneur support organizations out there that are doing the work of supporting entrepreneurs. One of the things that sets us apart is we are using a unique way of funding that engages community. So it's activating civic engagement to donate to founders. And so what happens is we have a pitch competition. So women will pitch their business, and then people will donate to the pitch that they favor. And then we grant that capital out to the founder. It really is built off of Black history because, in the early 1900s, if you think about the rent parties. And so building Black Girl Ventures, my thought was, could I create the largest rent party for entrepreneurs? Could I bring together people who care about other people to just have them activate to help these entrepreneurs move forward? If the banks are not going to do it, if they're slow to do it, if the venture capitalists won't do it, or if they're slow to do it, then what I do know is that the more people we can gather, then we can do it together. And so Nike and Kroger saw that work and were willing to get in the game with us and say, okay, let's see what we can do to rock and roll here. So I'll start with Kroger. With Kroger and a couple of other entities out there, we're doing like we're doing 9-month fellowships, because that is not just about you being a business owner, but being a business leader in your community, hyper locally. How can we get more people to the table to be able to have more voices engaged in what's happening in your community for other businesses? So that piece. Then there's a pitch competition piece. And so with Nike, we're really looking at like the business person as an athlete, and like what all do they need to be supported to thrive, to compete in the game that they're playing. So we have a tournament, actually a pitch competition tournament, launching with Nike on April 29th. That's going to be amazing. We had 8 businesses, 200 people applied. We got it down to 8. There's 2 rounds of elimination. It's gonna be super fun.
Wow, it sounds that way, Shelly. And you know, you've also gotten recognition from some superstars. Kevin Durant, I understand, passed you the mic on his Instagram page. To get that recognition, Shelly, tell us a little bit about that, and knowing that does that kind of stamp that I'm doing the right thing, you know, that stamp of approval on you. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting you should ask me that. I give thanks for that level of approval, right? And I mean, even when donations started rolling in, you know, we got some, you know, donations from some pretty well-known people. So I would say that, like, I'm thankful. I give thanks. The indication that I'm doing something right is the women that we serve. When I see them thriving, when I see them going on to get more funding, the average person that comes to Black Girl Ventures, they receive another 70,000 in funding as they move forward in their journey. They're going on to close their own venture capital rounds. They're going on to meet other people. We're using all of our platforms to push them forward so that they can get networking. Because one of the things that Black founders face is a lack of access to influential networks. So that recognition for me is access to an influential network that I can then connect my community to, because that's what it's all about. I mean, if I'm not putting numbers on the board, then it's okay if I get likes and follows, but if I'm not actually seeing real work happen, then I'm not going to say it doesn't matter to me, because I'm thankful for it. But at the same time, I really do care about how am I moving the needle for the women that I'm working with, and like how are we making them feel like they have a place in the world, in this business world that is like super white dominant in general, and then white male dominant, and then when it comes to funding, very white dominant. So yeah, that's how I know I'm doing it right. When women are getting funding and people are willing to give their funding, that's how I know I'm doing something right. But I appreciate all of the, recognition. It helps and it matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And you certainly matter, Shelly Bell. We are glad that you do. Dr. Chavis, I know you want to jump in here, so I'm going to send it over to the boss.
Thank you. Sister Bell, you well articulated what the bottom line is. It is the financial line. And a lot of times, there are a lot of organizations out there that have goodwill, but they don't deal with the business side or the financial side. And that's what you deal with. And you're right. That's how you determine your success. Numbers, finance matters. Every time I see a sign that says Black Lives Matters, I was say Black Lives with financial support matters. Black Lives with venture capital matters. Black Lives with successful, sustainable economic development and Black-owned businesses matter. And that's what's going to transform our community. We have to get ourselves out of helplessness and get ourselves in empowerment. And you're leading the way. Can you give our listening audience, how do women and others who are listening get in touch with Black Girls Ventures? What's your website?
Yeah, you can visit us at www.blackgirlventures.org. You can follow us on Twitter at bgirlventures or on Instagram at Black Girl Ventures. And I think I wanted to just kind of piggyback off of what you're saying is that, like, well, and if we zoom out, right, one of the pillars of America is entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship is a path to wealth. And when more people have wealth, we see a more equitable society. We see better education. We see more jobs. We see more ideas. We see more innovations. And so I think, like, sometimes people don't necessarily understand, like, well, why is it important for people to start businesses? Why is it important for people to grow their businesses? And even if you don't, like stay in business long term, or even if you don't decide to even launch your business at first, entrepreneurship is a mindset. And the way that you think about solving complex problems, the way that students can think about solving complex problems is important for new innovations that we need. I mean, think about it. You have these 2 vaccines coming out, right? Like that had to be innovation on the spot, right? Like there's water challenges across the country and especially in underrepresented neighborhoods. So we need innovation. Like our country still needs innovation. Not everybody has Wi-Fi. Not everybody has all the access that other people may have. So we need more people thinking of innovations, and we would be remiss to say that only, white people can think of great ideas and only those can be funded. That's not true.
Exactly.
We absolutely have a heap of intelligence and amazing talent in general in the Black community that just needs to be funded and made visible.
Well, you're an excellent example of that creative, financial innovations, financial genius, looking at your community, seeing where the opportunities are, and then rising to the occasion. I just want to note that almost 50% of all of our member publishers are Black women publishers. In fact, my executive committee of the National Newspaper Publishers Association, led by Karen Carter Richards from Houston, Texas, our chair, all of our sisters, all of our executive committee are Black women entrepreneurs in Houston, Atlanta, Norfolk, Virginia, Mississippi, Charlotte, North Carolina, Jackson, Mississippi, that is, leading the way. And I know that a lot of our publishers are watching this morning, and your words are certainly not only prophetic and providential, but also very encouraging. Because can you speak about COVID-19? There's a lot of stress in our community, Sister Bell. What would you recommend for those brothers and sisters that want to go into business, those who are in business? How should we deal with the stress factor related to COVID?
Yeah, I acknowledge that. Like there's so much anxiety right now around what's gonna come, what's about to happen. And I think when it comes to business, a lot of people have pivoted. At the beginning of the pandemic, we were hearing a lot from our community about, just a lot of the detriment. Like businesses were shutting down. One woman, she's like, listen, I lost 2 months of customers in one day. I think like trying to come back from that was just has been super challenging. At the same time, Black people have so much ingenuity, innovation that we find a way. If you look at the course of history, and I always tell people this because for some reason, sometimes like Black history is disconnected from like Black future, and it's like no, it's actually not. So I need you to visit it and then help us shape it to be better. So all the times that like Black business started to thrive, and then there was an attack, whether it was Tulsa, Oklahoma, whether it was Durham, Black Wall Street in Durham, like there was an attack, and then there was a starting over from zero. And this time everybody is feeling the layer of this hit. Is not just the Black community. We're feeling it more than anybody, but now everybody's feeling it. One thing I want to send a message to the Black community to say is like, we know how to bounce back. So, thinking about your own innovations, ingenuity, how you pivot, how resilient we are as people, I actually believe that we're going to see more Black and brown businesses thriving more than ever after this is over or as this continues, because we're seeing like the blind spots that some other people wouldn't naturally get to look at because they have so much privilege around them. And that's not necessarily a celebration point that there's privilege that provides that blind spot. But the point to be looking at and to stay positive about and to be inspired by is the fact that we have been built for, like, we can do this. So I'm seeing a lot of businesses just like figure it out, using technology in different ways, starting to like look at how they use online e-commerce and physical, like commerce in person, using different things like tap to phone. Visa's putting out a new phone tap to phone where you can tap a phone to a phone versus a device. Things like that are going to be helpful for like people vending outside. The spring is coming. So if you have something where you can vend outside or do something outdoors, fitness classes are picking back up from Black and brown founders who have fitness classes, fitness instructors. So using outside as much as possible and also thinking about technology that allows you to social distance and keep yourself safe. But remain vigilant, keep yourself safe, and know that this is an opportunity. There is some opportunity here. Go for it.
Wow. And Shelly, I know you have part of your background is computer science. Tell us a little bit more about your background and how you came to this point.
Oh yeah, it's a sort of crazy story. So I've lived a lot of lives. Let me say that. I have been a K through 12 teacher. I worked in workforce development for a bit. It's crazy because I always say one of the best experiences that I've had has been like selling vacuum cleaners in college, because it taught me sales, and sales is a huge part of how you become great in business. But ultimately, I was laid off twice, and I decided I wasn't going back to work for anyone. And just through pivoting and trying things and making a firm decision, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to make money. My mom actually invested her retirement money in me creating and building my own t-shirt line and print shop. And the merchandising is huge, and people always need it. Even in the pandemic, people still need hats, cups, water bottles, mugs, anything for them being even on screen. So I built my business that way from the ground up. And as the news came out that Black women were starting businesses at 6 times the national average, yet receiving less than 1% of venture capital, I decided, let's just pull some people together, throw some money in a hat, and give it away. And that's literally how Black Girl Venture started. 30
Wow.
women in a house in Southeast DC. We voted with marbles and coffee mugs. I had no idea that we would be here, but I kept going with it because I saw the positivity and I saw how it was actually making a difference.
Well, our publisher down in Jackson, Mississippi, one of our executive board members, Jackie Hampton, is watching, and she says, Shelly, you're very inspiring. And it is an inspiring story. Dr. Chavis, I'm sure you agree. James Wright of the Washington Informer says, adversity is a stepping stone to success. And you've spelled that out, Shelly, especially when it comes to the African-American community, Black women in particular. Can you just expand on that just a little bit? Because I think people tend to take certain things for granted, whereas Black women in particular, they really have to pick the pieces up and keep marching as if nothing ever happened.
Ooh, you said a there. I mean, it's mindset, right? And so being able to shift your mind to a place that says, listen, I'm going to do this, no matter what, we're going to make this thing happen. I'm going to decide that I have to move forward. And I mean, just having so our counterpart, Black Men Ventures, also just launched, and they're using our model to actually do the same thing for Black men. And then we look at we're also going to have a BGV Next Gen, because I'm looking at how do we raise the whole family up, right? And the Black woman has historically been amazing at that. And I was, I would just say that history just has it in the way we have evolved as a community, that this has been the case, that Black women and Black women, their efforts have been separated, not necessarily by our own merits, but just over the course of what we've had to try to do together, but separate, right? And so when I look at what we've done with Black women, with Black Girl Ventures, and now looking at Black Men Ventures, which we are lock in step on these efforts, I have created a vehicle that could be used across multiple communities. And I plan to do just that, because we got to start looking at raising up the whole family again. Yeah.
Yeah, that is so critical. The whole family, as you said. Dr. Chavis, I'm going to throw it to you for your closing thoughts.
Well, as I listen to Sister Bell, I have to give her a new title. She's Queen Mother Shelly Bell. When I listen to you, what you just said about leading the whole family to entrepreneurship, leading the whole family to wealth building, just think if all of our families would do that, it would change our community. God has blessed us as a people, but sometimes we underestimate our blessings. And as you pointed out, Sister Bell, it's the mindset. And so thank you for coming to the Black press this morning to remind us of having a mindset that we can do better, that we are better, and as a result, we will make the world a better place.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Shelly Bell. This has been quite informative, and we appreciate all that you do. Now we know that there's a Black Men Ventures now, thanks to your efforts. So, yeah, lift up the whole family. Don't forget, it's not too early to register for the National Newspaper Publishers Association's annual summer convention, which is held virtually this year, and it's free. Please register at www.virtualnnpa2021.org. Again, it's virtualnnpa2021.org. And don't forget, a special edition of Let It Be Known is Wednesday, when the director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, joins us. So tune in, send in your questions. Dr. Walensky is here for the entire half hour, and we are looking forward to that. It's also Distracted Driving Awareness Month. During the month of April, several organizations unite under the same mission to encourage everyone to drive with focus and to reach their destinations safely. Distracted Driving Awareness Month puts safety first, and text messages, arriving on time, and friends under the influence in the back seat. According to the most recent available stats, the National Safety Council estimates as many as 40,000 people died on U.S. roadways. That's a 6% increase over the previous findings, and 14% over the one that was previous to that in 2015. The government says that the most dramatic 2-year increase in 53 years has happened over the past 2 years. So what can you do? Turn off your phone, designate a sober driver, reduce your speed. Crying children can wait until you pull over safely, and wear your seatbelt. Distracted Driving Awareness Month. Let's all observe it, not just this month, but every month and every day. Let it be known. Be courteous, be considerate, be safe. And remember, we really are our brother's keepers. We will see you tomorrow.